Dinosaurs. Okay, well,
Asa.
dude. We can do this thing where we talk about the week again.
We could. I was just gonna be like, "How was your week?" But
I don't even know. Time is passing in a really odd way right now because it's the end of winter, and at the end of winter here in this biome, it's just raining. Right now, it's just I'm looking out the window. It's actually just pissing.
Yeah.
So time feels really odd because it feels like all the days kind of mesh into the next, unless it's sunny, and then you're like, "Whoa, life again."
Yeah. Honestly, this week felt like I had like a power weekend last week of like lots of really soul fulfilling activities, lots of energy spent, very little sleep, and then had a couple days off to rest and feel that like dopamine kind of settle and then be like, okay, that was a week. That was a week of life and experiences.
Yeah, mine's just been
feels like we just sat down here like yesterday. I'm like, holy shit.
100%. Yeah. It has been exactly one of those weeks.
Yeah.
Also because the weather went from last week being all sunny to now kind of being meh, and just a ton of auditions. So I've just been like.
But I did check for next week. It's supposed to be warm. It's supposed to go up to like 14 degrees, 14, 15 degrees.
Dang.
In Canadian
temperature. In Canadian.
Not super sunny necessarily, but like it's supposed to get a little warmer.
Yeah,
so that's kind of cool.
This has been mild here.
Yeah.
Fortunately, sorry for everyone on the East Coast. I know you've been getting smoked by snowstorms and cold, but here it's just the temperate rainforest.
Which leads us into our topic for today.
Yes. And let's just say nature. Let's just call it nature. The natural world. The wilderness. I don't want to say wilderness, but not like the local park in your neighborhood nature, even though that is technically a part of it. We're talking about outside the city.
And we're very blessed, as we've mentioned on other episodes, that we live in a place with pretty much unfettered access. Within 20 minutes, we can be out of the city and in a place where you feel surrounded by all of it at the foot of the mountains, and you can drive the other way and be at the beach. And
wild in the sense that you could run into a bear. We have run into it. We literally ran into a bear in the last year. So it is wild in the sense that you can get just outside the city in 20 minutes, be in a forest, in a river, in a lake, and just be kind of on your own. Like you'll run into people, but it's I don't know of any other city in the world yet, and I've traveled quite a bit, where you can just be in the forest in 20 minutes, but still be close enough to a city that provides all the amenities that feel like culture, like coffee shops and restaurants and movies and you know. Starting like, how has nature benefited your life, and when was the turning point when it became more important to you?
I'll start with the second question. The turning point when it became more important to me was my first like big backpacking trip. It was after like university, and I had just broken up with like my high school sweetheart, and I finally was like, I'm going to take that trip I told myself I was going to take. I was kind of in a rush to book something. It was in October, and I just Googled. I was like, what's in season? What's a good season to travel? Where's a good place to go in October? And everything came up, and it was like Nepal. And I was like, perfect, mountains. I live in a place with mountains. I hike. Like, whatever, cool. And I don't think I knew what I was signing myself up for. And then it turned into just like the most beautiful, like balls to the wall hiking experience I could have ever imagined at that age. And I think that was what got me in love with like, at first, this sort of like active adventure style of like access to nature, and being like, oh, I want to go, I want to feel that rush of like summiting something or conquering something or doing something in a well paced and instilling that confidence and strength within myself. And then I think over the years it changed into just being like, oh, I don't want to do that every day. Like, I don't want to do that all the time. I don't always want to hike. Sometimes I just want to go out in the forest and like be in it. And so to the first question, nature has really just taught me to like slow down and appreciate just like what's happening and what's there. Like nature isn't like neat and tidy and finished. If anything, everything like death and life are happening all around you when you're in a forest or any sort of like natural landscape. And it's a constant, there's a constant battle of like survival to the wildlife, to the birds, to whatever. And you're just kind of like, oh, everything's just like my bedroom. Everything is just where it is. Mm. And that was like a cool thing to start to relate more, and being like, oh, I don't have to do anything out here. I don't have to come out into the forest and also do yoga and also do breath work. I can just chill and like let this medicine work on me.
I like that you call the forest medicine, because it definitely has become more of that. When I was a kid, I wasn't like, oh, this is so medicinal. I was just like, I loved being out in this because it felt right.
Yeah.
I also was very fortunate to grow up next to a bog, a natural bog, one of the second largest in the world. And so I spent a lot of time in there. And that's where I created my adventure spirit and my like, oh, let's build forts and do all this.
Yeah,
and then
bushwhacking.
And bushwhack, yeah. You know, and even like I remember cutting down a tree and immediately regretting it. And it took us 3 days with a hatchet. And we cut down a tree, and I remember watching it topple, go, whoa. And then when it landed, I was like, I'm sorry. My first instinct was to say sorry to the tree. I just realized, oh my God, I just ended this thing's life. So there was like that first connection of like, wait a second, I should think deeper about what I'm even doing in this biome. Whereas as I become older, and why it's become more important is because it's become a respite from culture. I feel like the forest and nature in itself is a culture of its own. And in being in it, like a culture in a city, it develops a pace. And the pace of the city is like this. Tick, 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 complete. See your friends, go eat, mix this, watch a movie. You're always kind of doing something, where being in nature, for me, the doing something is just being in it. And it has a pace in how it exists that I feel just being in it teaches you that pace, which is why we say slow down. I don't think historically people needed to slow down because they were in nature living.
Right.
So their pace was more in tune with how the natural world is. Whereas now we're so far removed from the natural world that we call it driving to nature.
Yeah.
We're saying that we don't live in nature by saying that, you know? So we go into nature to remember that pace. And I have found I actually don't connect very deeply with people who don't connect with nature or have that pace in their life. People who have too much of the pace of a city, I can connect with to a human degree. But in terms of like real depth, the real depth for me comes from the understanding of what that pace teaches you. And there's so many other lessons, which is why I like that you call it medicine, because there's just so many medicinal teachings in just witnessing a tree blow, in watching a river move, in listening to the birds. And, you know, all of those things sound obscure until it becomes a practice in your life. And then it's kind of like the, if you know, you know. Ek yak.
Yeah. And on that note, it's just to like exercise in noticing all those things. If you haven't already figured it out, we're judgmental cunts, but sometimes watching other people walk through the trails or the normal routes we go on, and they're just like head down, like doing the thing. And like, also that's fine. Like if you're here for your exercise, like sure, no better place to do it than out here. Like I get it. I get why you would want to come run or do that in a forest, but how many times have we just been standing there looking at something and people are like the
sunset.
Yeah, perplexed. Like, what could you possibly be looking at? And we're just like, what couldn't you be looking at? Like,
komoribi. It's a Japanese word for the twinkling of sunlight through leaves and trees. That was the moment. We were watching a sunset and these people came by and were like, stop, like, what are you looking at? And Alex just gives me the C-U-N-T look, and I'm like, the sunset. And she's like, huh? And the sunset was just going behind the trees, and we were just both in awe watching this moment. And they thought it had to be some like transitory thing, like an eagle swooping and grabbing a rabbit while the sunset. Like, nope, it's just the sunset. But it was that beautiful to stop and witness. And this energy that we notice is people are bringing that city energy into the forest. Accomplish, bike ride, run, like do the thing, get something accomplished and done. We're going to go for our walk and get our exercise while we talk, and we're going to get our nature at the same time. Whereas this is the snobness, is like we go in there to just go poof.
Like to the point where it's almost even hard to go like with a too tight of a time limit.
Yep.
We need like that time to get in there, let it start affecting us, and like spend the time to just be like, to have that like actualize within us as well. And if you go too fast, like sure, a quick visit is still worth it, but yeah, it's like we want the time.
Can you think of anything that popcorns into your head? Like, how does being in nature inspire the way that you live, or maybe inspire your creative elements or decisions you make?
Yeah, I mean, like quite literally, there have been many times where we're standing there doing our thing and there's nothing really going on. The sun is out, we're by a river, whatever. Like, there's nothing else to do. Like, sure, sometimes I just sit there and soak it all in and I'm like, brr. But there's also lots of times where I'm like bouncing and playing and just like swishing in the water and connecting with that. You know, I know we throw this word out like play, everyone has to play. And it's like, but that to me is play. Like, I might not, you know, like play with toys anymore like I was a kid, but that's just like, what is my natural state when there isn't really anything to do and I don't have the tasks of my like city life on me? So that's how it's inspired me. It's just taught me how to like be okay hanging out and not really doing anything and just following whatever interests me. Like, oh, it's that. Oh, that rock looks cool. They're like, huh. As well as in a dance sense, there's lots of times where I'm just like kind of tweaking and doing my thing and like tracing rocks or like following the swirl of the water. And like, does that mean when I'm dancing in my freestyle, I'm like imagining the water swirling and the leaves blowing? Not really, but it translates for sure somehow. It's definitely this like moment of creative and calm where I can like trace natural formations and lines and embed that into like my creative practice.
I feel like the way it would inspire me is that it creates larger spaces between thought patterns, just naturally, because I don't have a lot of stimulus outside of like what's happening. If it's like raining or if it's sunny or if it's whatever, I can sit and think in a moment, and I feel like my thought process has a lot more space between thoughts, that I can expand the thought to the edge of its ability, so that, you know, if I'm thinking about a character I want to play and I'm doing an audition or something, I can better contemplate who this person is, what they mean in the world, what their input in the world is, how they feel about things, because I'm not inundated by like, oh, I want to make a coffee, or I want to like, oh, there's some car sounds outside. Like, things aren't really poking at me, that I have more space to think. And in terms of play, like I mean, I feel like it's a guy thing too. We always want to throw rocks at targets. There's usually gonna be a moment where I'm like, bunk, bunk, bunk. Okay, see if you can hit that in the first time. Like, that game always appears, but also like swishing a stick, or just like making
dragon breath.
Exactly. Making dragon breath. Like, that sense of play has a sense of accomplishment with it, that I remembered when I was a kid. And we have a place where there's a cave, and we go there to make really funny sounds. And I think about this, why nature is such a good outlet in that way, is that you can't really make sound that you want to make always in the city. Like, I can't just go and start screaming in my apartment, or people are going to think there's a problem. I can't go out in the street and go or people are going to be like, I'm going to call the police, like, this guy's unstable, or he's a threat. Whereas when you're in the cave in the middle of nowhere, you can scream, you can yell, you can make all the weird sounds you want, you can sing at the top of your lungs, and it's not going to impact anyone. I feel like that's a huge asset to clearing that sticky paste of life that gets stuck on you in the city. I think that's something that really has become more and more valuable as time goes on.
Being able to just like let some of those social norms and expectations fall away for just a second. And
And, you know, I'd be lying if I said that we've said this before in previous episodes about can you hang? The can you hang portion with friendships, with possible intimate partners. Usually, if there's a date happening, one of the first dates for me is going to be like, you want to go for a walk in nature? Not a hike.
Yeah.
I know, like, there's a lot of people who be like, you guys are going on hikes. And like,
yeah,
no. We live in nature in such a way that, like, our walk is some people's hike. But to go out and feel, can they handle weather? What if it's wet? Are they going to be like, I'm calm? Or are they going to have resilience?
Yeah.
Because that's going to show me resilience. Are they going to be able to listen to me freak out in a cave and be like, oh, whoa, that's odd? Or are they going to be like, oh, that's cool? You know, it's going to show me in how they react to nature and to how I spend time in nature to see if there's an alignment.
Yeah. And I mean, we say this all the time about like camping. This doesn't have to be like wild or crazy backcountry camping, but just like going to a campsite that has amenities and stuff. It's still like a cool way to see how you might work together with someone as a friend or as a partner, like splitting up labor, splitting up just things that you have to do. Like, and it's cool to just see how people act, especially when you finally get to that sort of quiet and still part of nature where you're just like, and then it's like, you see if they kind of get anxious or they're like, now what? Now where do we go?
What are you thinking?
Like, well,
what are you thinking?
It's like, well, what are we supposed to do now? It's like, I don't know, whatever you want.
Or nothing.
Yeah.
Literally just exist in this.
Yeah.
Exist in the peace of each other's attunement to nature. I have found is one of my favorite feelings, especially in partnership with someone who knows how to truly just exist in the peace of nature is a huge attractive factor where I'm like, oh wow, you can just be in it and not try and do anything, because that is the purpose.
Yeah.
To be like a tree going like this. It's not like, I'm going to go far left now. I'm going to go up. I'm going to jump. You know, they're just.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is what I have started to become like in nature. Is like a tree, just.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is a metric in that, because like if you can't hang as a friend or this ain't going to go very far.
Yeah. And it's so ingrained in my life, in our lives. Now it's like I feel it when I haven't been out there for a little while or whatever. It's like I crave it. I'm like, I have to go. And you know, a lot of the times people are just like, let me know when you go. And I'm like, is this going to be more work for me and like less enjoyable? Or and sometimes we hit it right. We invite the right people or whatever, and you vibe out there and you figure it out. But yeah, it's habit, like anything else. It's a habit that's a part of my lifestyle and sustains my like soul as a human. So that's why it's tough. Yeah, it is tough to like try or think about moving and living other places when you're just like, if I didn't have access to that, like, would that be okay? And you might say that, you might be like, yeah, and then you'd be like, oh.
Yeah, I think about that. I've had these pondering thoughts many times, because move to LA and your career will spark out, go to New York and but like I've been to both these cities. I mean, LA way more than New York, but man, the thought of living in a giant urban jungle almost makes me sick. The thought of not being able to walk out into a forest and sit in a patch of moss and just inhale fresh air and listen to the creaking of trees makes me physically ill. If I couldn't do that for a minimum of 2 weeks, I start to actually break down. So when I'm doing roles and I'm doing stuff where I have to, like when I went to Calgary and lived there for 4 months and shot a film, part of my regular thing was I would drive to nature. I would drive even out to the plains. I would drive to a big park and I would just sit in a field and just hang out by myself and get my little hit. And that was just like getting by nature. Whereas we live in this 1% of the world that is a temperate rainforest, where like we have really fresh air, clean water, you know, big, juicy, wet trees. Like everything's just very moist. It's a very humid place. And living without it, the more that I've had it, and I guess we've been spoiled because I grew up here, I just don't know how I could live in a system. And I love the desert for the magic that it provides. But how often do people in LA, like, I'm going to get out to the desert? Like, you might go once a month, or if that, really get out. I'm going to go to Joshua Tree, But like, to get out of the city takes hours. Whereas here, I can be in my apartment, and in 20 minutes I can be in the forest, and I can come back and have a full day. Like, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to go see a friend. It's not like a full day's commitment.
And even better yet, there's those days in the summer where we can go out into the forest and the river, and you can have sunset in the valley there, come back into the city, eat, and then go back out to the beach and go out for like a different sort of natural experience, and watch and listen to the waves crash on the shore. And like,
and if you want to have people, you can go to the beach where there'll be people, or you can go to a lake and be like, oh, let's,
or you can go to a top of a mountain and as I love to do, and watch it from up there. And
these habitual systems, the system of being in nature. And I feel like the more time that I spend in it, the more I learn. The more I learn about culture, the more I learn about people, the systems of how people live, the more I learn about myself and what I need, because it's constantly giving me reflection, even if the reflection is just myself. I'm going out there and being like, oh man, how am I living? What am I doing? How am I treating people? How was I treated? Like, it's giving me, again, that space on either side of my thought to go, oh man. And, I personally feel that that's the kind of ethos I would like to share and have become trendier. And in the same time, I don't want it to be, because I don't want everyone in nature. If everyone was going out there, I think that we'd have more cement paths and more safety nets and more like signs and all this bullshit. I just want it to stay raw, and I want people to be more connected and go out in it so that they can feel that growth. Because I feel like, if the leaders of the world were spending more time going and sitting in the river and watching the trees blow, we probably wouldn't be killing each other as much, or trying to pillage, or the greed, that saturation of like want, gimme. When you're in nature, you're not feeling want, gimme.
Yeah.
You're just going, oh, like, what am I doing here on this rock in this flesh suit? Like,
but also that takes time. Like, sometimes you can't just plop people into it, but like the most beautiful scenery, and that makes them feel anxious. Like, or someone who grew up in the middle of New York and hasn't really tasted that most of their life. It's like sometimes when friends will come and visit us, and I'll go show them something, and it's not to like brag, and they're just like awestruck. They're like, oh my God. And I'm like, oh, right. I see this all the time. And I'm like, I've traveled and hiked and done this, and I've seen some incredible vistas and viewpoints and whatnot. And I forget, just like for some people, a simple forest walk, they're like, holy shit. Like, this?
You can just go to this?
Yeah. And they're like, what? Or like, friends from different cities that don't have mountains, and then they come here and they get off the plane and they're like, oh, they're right there. And I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah, they kind of loom over
right
us.
There.
We never feel like the big dogs here, because the big dogs are the mountains. When you're on a street or driving, they're just looking at you all the time.
So there is a bit of a learning curve, I suppose, for people as well. And it's like, just, maybe experiment going out to your favorite, if you don't have a forest nearby, a nice field, or a nice, the least amount of buildings.
Or a desert patch that's just rocks and cacti.
I remember someone I followed online once for a while. They'd called it like, it's like this idea of washing your eyes as well. Because in our regular world, in the city life, everything we build is like squares. It's all rectangles and squares. There's a grid. Your apartment is all squares. Whereas when you go out into nature, you actually like visually wash your system, because everything is just, it's not trying to be perfect. It's just growing the way it needs to go, or the river is flowing the way. It's not like a perfect right angle of a riverbank. It's just
I think about that, because I have
your eyes.
Multiple friends. I know that they would love this statement of wash your eyes, because they're in sustainable architecture. And sustainable architecture, like, there's a lot of that ethos involved. Like, how can you bring nature into the way that we function as a culture and society with our structures? And I do look at that. I'm like, there is, if you look at what's that city in Spain, the way that the roads are shaped is really unique. Barcelona, I think. Barcelona. And it's not as square. Like, they're this rounded shapes. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting, because I think about that all the time. I was like, why don't we have circular houses?
Yeah.
Why don't we have octagon? Like, why don't we just have more shapes and structures and a variety of how nature does? Because when you go into nature, it's not like, oh, there's that straight path and there's that thing. You know, we cut the paths.
Yeah.
If you walk out into the forest, it's just fallen tree, ferns. Like, it's just a bunch. It seems like chaos, but it all has its own pattern of organization. Like it's Fibonacci sequence, so to speak. Like,
and when you see the straight cut paths or the signs or whatever, they stick out like a sore thumb. You're like, that's not, someone made that.
Yeah,
like,
someone made that.
You can see the like stamp of humanity on that. And you're kind of like,
And that's where I nerd out. It's like, how can we bring that from nature into our cities? How can we don't have to travel to nature? What if we just had that in our cities and we had fruit trees everywhere and bigger trees on the boardwalk, and like they grew? I mean, obviously you can't have them on streets because we need our roadways for transportation and mechanics. But yeah, I'm sure there's a way we can incorporate more roundabouts and stuff that have like
natural infrastructure, or like even just like water features. Like, think about how nice it is when you're around like a fountain.
Yes.
You feel running water. Sure, it's not the same as a river, and you know, there's the difference. It was man-made, but it just feels nice.
Yeah,
some running water.
We're in a rainy city. Why don't we have rainways that go on the bus stops that like trickle and let you? Yeah. Because I mean, and then again, we are very privileged again to be in a place where we have access to this kind of nature, and it really makes me want to see it more in the city, because I know and feel the benefits of it in my body, in my life, with my friendships and my family. You know, I am a better person when I'm getting nature regularly. I'm calmer. My nervous system's more regulated. I make better decisions about my life and the decisions I need to move forward and succeed in my career. It's just...
I think how often we tell people, like when I tell people, oh, I just spent the day up in the forest, and there's like, yeah, I need to do that too. I need to get some of that. Immediately it pings something in them where maybe even if they don't do it as regularly or whatever, they're just like, oh that sounds nice. Fuck.
Do you want to go?
I gotta get that.
Yeah, because like we also can go on our own. Like, we love to go together, but like also when we need it, we need it. We just go. Like I also make reasons like, oh, I fill up my water at the aquifer, at the spring. So I fill up my water and drink exclusively spring water. And it gives me a reason also some days to go out alone and just like, I'll fill up my water and then I'll go for a walk and like sit by the river and just, you know, splash my face or put my face in. Sometimes get in the river. Like that is a practice that I like to do. And
So on that note, I wanted to ask you, it was a question I thought of earlier, but in your travels, I know there's going to be so many, it's going to be impossible to pick one, but like, what is a vista or a viewpoint or something that really just like took your breath away and you were just like, this does not get old?
Okay, there's two that come to mind right away, and they're very different. One of them was in Egypt, and it was over the Valley of the Dead. At 4 a.m. we got into hot air balloons, and we were up in the sky to watch the sunrise, and we were over a river. We were looking down at the river, and then you look in the distance, and there's like farmland and stuff. But you look this way, and it was just little like rocky mountains and the Valley of the Dead. And I remember looking and going, "Oh my God!" Like they built structures as a part of the mountain. They didn't cut out things like we do now. They built all the structures in the shape of the mountain, like the Valley of the Dead kind of like formed into it. And I remember when the sun hit it and went poof, and I was just like, "Oh my God!" Like this, it was godlike. I was in awe. I physically, my mouth went like, and everyone talking, I wanted to be like, shut the fuck up. Everyone on this balloon, shut up and watch. Because, you know, the internal part of me was like, I want dead silence and I just want to hear the air and witness this. That was one that really impacted me. And the other was I think it was in Chennai in India, southern India, southeast India. And we were near this like jungle, and there was a waterfall coming over into the river, and on both sides there was these big like banyan looking trees that were hanging over it, and the wisps were hanging down, and there's this little fish. And I remember going in the water and being like, "Oh, is there anything dangerous?" And they're like, no, you can go swim. And I remember going out in the water and looking up and seeing no people. There was nobody. And India has a lot of people. But in these southern places, like it blew my mind. I was like, there's no one here. And there was just fruit, like fresh fruit on the edges of the thing. And I went, wow, this level of of bounty blew me away, where I was like, you can just be in the river and I can get out and I can just pull a fruit off a tree and eat it and just witness this pristine vista. And it was so different than both those in Egypt and in India. Both of those places are just so biologically different than what we have here. And I saw the magic in it and I had the awe for it. And then I had a big reflection that made me go like, oh, people brought up in these biomes usually end up in these biomes. A lot of the times how you were brought up is where you end up. If you're going to have a family or whatever, kind of settle down and like really put your roots in somewhere, you usually end up doing it in a place that's similar to the energy of where you were developed. Because for how much I love the desert and how much I love the jungle, like the Northwest coast is this is my biome.
Oh yeah.
I thrive here.
It definitely feels like home.
Yeah, it feels like home.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, I think kind of 3 popped to mind. Was that back to that first trip in Nepal, because again, coming from a place with mountains, you're like, I know mountains. Going to see the Himalayas for the first time, I remember just finally seeing them in their like majestic glory and being like, oh my God, those are big. Holy shit. And I don't do any like summiting or like really alpine climbing or anything, but like, whoa, you're just like, these are big. And I remember that first trip there, we were really lucky. There was one day, there was a meteor shower going on. And we woke up early enough to see it and then go see sunrise.
Oh my
and
God.
We were in like a hot spring with these mountains and just like like every couple seconds, you're just like, I was like, I don't know if I'll ever have it this good again.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And the second one was probably when I did a backpacking trip in Jordan. And that was my pull to the desert. That was my first time really. And I went out on my own one day and I just like wanted to find the like emptiest landscape I could. And it was just like blue sky, sand, and like red rocks. And you're like, like something about that nothingness just makes you like, that's the only place to go. Like, so. And then lastly, I've got to give a shout out to the Pacific Northwest. There's so many, but it never gets old here. It really doesn't get old. I can think of just rifle through so many camping trips and moments of just being like, oh,
that's why we're still here.
Yeah, you're just like, oh.
Why we're still here.
Yeah. So it really doesn't get old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we do. And like, comment, subscribe, interact, or don't. Throw it in your toilet.
Get outside.
Get outside. This is, if anything, this is a giant promotion.
Yeah, get outside.
Get outside. Sponsored by.
Go hug a tree.
Go hug a tree.
Throw a rock at something.
Put your face in the water, splash it really quickly, and go.
Try screaming.
Yeah, you should try screaming.
I wasn't always a screamer.
He's a screamer. We all screamers now.
I'm a screamer now.